owns, according to some latest reports, 1.4% of Huawei. And the rest of the company's ownership are scattered amongst employees, possibly in tens of thousands. Not everyone who owns a share of the company actually is the boss of the company. So how much does that 1.4% of ownership by Mr. Lin Zhengfei himself translates to his absolute control of the company? 100%?
Okay, as you know, Mr. Lin Zhengfei is the founder. So he is like the philosophical influence that we have within the organization. But it is managed by 3 rotating chairmen that we have that do a 6-month rotational, and they run the business, they operate the business, they collaborate with the regions and the countries. So Mr. Ren sits above and gives his sort of views, his opinion, his philosophy, his thinkings, and then we as a business try to interpret that where appropriate. So yes, he's still a huge influence, but from an operational day-to-day perspective, it's very much driven by our executive management team and then the rotating CEOs. So we all look to Mr. Ren as being one of inspiration, one of motivation, but from a business perspective, it's very much managed by the chairman, the 3 rotating chairmen.
There is no doubt that Mr. Ren is the heart and soul of Huawei. But just to be absolutely clear, he absolutely has the veto power on Huawei's board, doesn't he? In other words, if he's so effectively making the most important decisions 100% at the helm of the organization.
Now that's a very good question, and not having access or visibility or being able to attend such high-level meetings within Huawei. We have a large governance body, I believe is approximately 15 people, of which sits the very senior from headquarters management of the organization. Now, how they operate within those board meetings and those committees, unfortunately, I don't have access to that information. I don't have that level of detail. But certainly overseas, and as a local employee, we see Mr. Ren as the leader, the founder. We very much respect his achievement and what he has achieved in just 33 years to where we are today. The exponential growth has been phenomenal. But how they would then structure the decision making and the veto power, I don't have that knowledge.
So Lesley, talking about the corporate assets, Huawei's employee stock sharing program is quite unique in its own way. According to Harvard Business Review, it says that the normal employee stock ownership programs that are offered for Western companies are considered as golden handcuffs, but Huawei's employee stock sharing program is a silver handcuff. What is the difference there?
I think what the employee share option scheme offers for Chinese employees is a way to be a part of the organization. It's all about performance. It's all about being the best that we can be, investing. As you know, we have 96,000 employees working in R&D. That's just under 50% of total employee base. We also invest on average 10% each year in research and development. So it's our company. So it's very much, we've got to contribute. We want to reap the benefits, the reward. Then it's seen as a motivation. It's seen as a commitment from our side. It's not just something that you get for being an employee. You've been there 5 years, 6 years. This is all very much, you are contributing to the growth and the success of the organization. So it's like everybody has a vested interest. It's very important for them to see Huawei continue to succeed. And as you say, on the geopolitical environment, more about survival. We have to survive through this crisis, through this challenge. And the stocks plan is a way of recognizing that commitment, that hard work and dedication of the employee. So I think from that perspective, it's very genuine because the dividends are not distributed to shareholders. who have, many other organisations, shareholders. They've bought stock in the company, so they have trust in the company, but they're not driving the business. They're not working each day, every day, to help that business succeed. And I think that's the unique value of the Huawei.
Lesley, you talked about this rotating chairman system within Huawei. As far as I know of, no other leading global companies does that. Why is that?
Again, I'm not part of that decision-making power, but my understanding is that it keeps the organisation agile and it keeps it fresh. So it's like many organisations will rely on the leader's thinking, and he may go a path, the route, or she, and they go down that path. And decisions may be based upon personal preference, personal understanding. At Huawei, it's all about collective management. We all bear the responsibility. It's our company. It's a private company. Therefore, it goes back to the share scheme. So it avoids any wrong decision. It keeps the ideas fresh, and therefore we can grow the success. That is my understanding. And I think it's actually a very good idea. I've worked in many organisations in the past, both British and American, where decisions have been made that have perhaps been the wrong decision. But this, you've got three people. So each person will bring its own value and have its own thinking and idea to make sure that we maintain any risk mitigation. So I actually welcome this rotating CEO, this 6-month period, because it means things are moving forward. Nothing gets stuck. And I think in today's environment, it's very dangerous to become complacent. One has to keep moving forward.
A business school graduate would probably ask the same question like I do. You have when you have 3 rotating chairmen, that adds a lot of additional cost in terms of running the institution, because you add a lot of communication costs, a lot of admin costs, and not exactly everybody think alike, right? No matter how closely they work together. And so how do you maintain a strong level of efficiency to communicate the message and transpire the corporate vision across 3 people rather than just having one? And at the same time, let's face it, I mean, everybody has preferred employees that they like to work with. And so all these 3 rotating chairmen, how do they ensure that they work with exactly, the same unified team at the very same level with the same style of management?
So that is a very good question, and that's one of the things I very much admire from the rotating CEOs. It goes back to my previous comment about performance. It is all about the right person in the right job, performing at the best they can be. So whether Shirley, you like me, Martina, likes me, doesn't like me, it's irrelevant. I'm doing my job. I'm performing at the best. So this rotating CEO avoids such situations where we have any favoritism, any nepotism. It gets away from that because it's all about giving employees the opportunity. If you can do that job and you contribute and show your value to the organisation, that's the key. And I think that's what's good about the rotating CEOs. They will put in place the right people to do and grow the business in whichever domain. So with regards to efficiency, I think the communication and the relationship among the 3 CEOs and how they communicate, how they collaborate is very tight, is very strong. So it's not to say that there is a handover period. Everybody is fully aware of the situation timely. So it's not to say I take it over and, oh my God, I need 2 weeks to catch up, become familiar with what's going on. They know exactly timely what is going on.
Talking about this culture of survival, Huawei has a very strong sense of this, what we call in Chinese, the wolf's culture. And so,
Yes.
A very crisis-minded, constantly looking for solutions and looking for competitive advantage. And so even Mr. Ren, as he took on media sometime in 2019, he said at the top of the global technological zenith, there can be only one. Within Huawei, is it acceptable to talk about even being number 2?
We mustn't be aggressive, and we must always remain humble. But at the end of the day, every company wants to be the best it can be, and our ambition is to be number one, is to be that trusted provider, supplier, vendor to every opportunity. Be it in the carrier space, the enterprise space, the consumer space. So everybody wants to be the best that they can be. And we believe that with the investment, with the technological advantages that we have, and the way we operate our organisation, that we can be number one. So it's a good ambition, and we can all strive for that. So we try to deliver that message to our employees to let them know they're part of something big. We have this ambition. We want to be here for the long term. We just don't want to play, low-hanging fruit. We truly want to be part of the ecosystem.
Yes, when we talk about Amazon, I guess at the very beginning, they also aspired to be global number one as well, but they never talked about it as deliberately as a corporate culture, as to the extent that Huawei does. To what extent do you think this culture of survival, this wolf culture, to be global number one, is understood or misunderstood by the rest of the world? And that certainly, to some extent, does that stand fear?
It's a good question, and I think from an external perspective, I do think it is misunderstood. It comes across as being perhaps slightly arrogant. We will succeed no matter whatever the consequences. We're going to make sure we're number one. But internally, it is not like that. We are taught and told constantly, and even many Mr. Wren's speeches talks about being humble, talks about making sure we are not arrogant with the customer. We are looking at ways of partnering, with health authorities, with education authorities, with our partners, with our customers, with governments, in order that we can have a win-win, a mutual win-win situation using our technology, using our solutions. So internally, it's different compared to the market. However, from an employee perspective, yes, it is all about a healthy, competitive environment, because we all want to be the best, and we're all competing against each other. So that wolf culture, comes a part of it, and we do teach that with in our new employee orientation program. We try to touch upon that. Obviously, we can't go too deep, because I think you need to be in Huawei to truly understand and witness that year on year. But I do think there is a slight misunderstanding. However, it does exist.
That's very interesting. Hypothetically, I guess, a person is born with that genetic competition to be competitive. Can you teach wolf culture to employees, or perhaps even in the selection process, you are specifically looking for these personality traits?
So to recruit for the wolf culture would practically be impossible, and I'm not sure how one would do that. But we have competency interview questions, and each business domain, each hiring department will be looking for a certain skill set, a certain type of person that they want to, that meets their business requirements. There's not, within Huawei, what I like is there's not one size fits all. So there is flexibility, there is adaptability, and there's kind of an interpretation of what we need when we need it. The managers and hiring managers have that flexibility. What we want people to come on board that have a willingness, have a passion, have a desire to be part of Huawei, to be part of this and open to this Chinese culture, but also to perform, to contribute, to show their value. And that's where we have all the mechanisms and the programs that will identify these people, will fast track these people, will give these people more opportunity. And that's what we say. If you can fulfill on these requirements, then you will have greater opportunities. And for me, from an HR perspective, we want to motivate people, we want to inspire people, and all managers, it's their duty to get the best performance out of their employees and teams. It's not just individuals, very much teamwork. So I actually like this. You know exactly where you are. You know exactly what's expected of you, And if you want to be successful, the platform is there.
And on this survival culture, a lot of the employees that were hired in Shenzhen, the headquarters, when they come to the jobs, they are given mattresses and blankets, and so that they can sleep in the office in order to continue work. This is almost seen as a badge of honor for many employees working at Huawei. This is the golden standard of work ethics, I should say. Do you do that in Western Europe?
No, we don't. But what I can say is, the way to look at it, it's power napping. So within the Chinese culture and in the Asian culture, that is very common. That is not just unique to Huawei. I'm aware from many other companies that this power napping is also acceptable and part of their daily behavior. So the first thing that happened to me when I went to work in headquarters, my secretary said to me, "Oh, shall I order you a bed?" And I said, "That's very kind of you, but I'm not used to sleeping at lunchtime. It would feel very odd for me. It's just not in our culture. We don't do that in Europe." But it was done in China. It was done in headquarters, and it was seen as very successful. It enabled people to have the energy, to work through the afternoon and tackle what was coming and facing them in the afternoon. I think again this goes back to culture. So no, we don't do that in Europe, but I do understand why it is done. And after a while, you do accept it. You have to be open. Cultural differences are not good and bad; they're just different. Part of working at Huawei is that we have to embrace, the different cultures, and that's one of the examples.
The Harvard Business School analysis on Mr. Lin Zhengfei, and it says that Mr. Lin is a slow decision maker. And I think that's perhaps contradictory to many of the conventional beliefs of him, because he's a quick thinker and he's very resolute and decisive and strategic. Is he a slow decision maker?
Again, unfortunately, I have met Mr. Ren, but I've been in a huge meeting hall, and he's been speaking, and we had translators because I worked in headquarters in 2016 and 17, so I had the opportunity to meet him. However, I've not met him, in a personal capacity. What I can say from a local level, as I talked about delegation of authority earlier, we can make our decisions, and we make the decisions based on the requirements in our region. So each region will have its own president. Now, Mr. Ren makes the very big, high-level, decisions, but day-to-day operations, business as usual, how we design our strategy, that is all done locally. And that is very agile. And that's one of the things. Huawei is a very dynamic, fast-paced organization. And we're evolving, and we're meeting, the changing environment rapidly. Otherwise, we will not determine our survival if we cannot keep pace with the changing external environment. And we can do that in our country and in our region.